This is Dr. Deanna Smith, Crop Protection Marketing Specialist, emphasis in seed treatments.
Let's talk about seed treatments. What are seed care products?
Seed care products are crop protection chemicals and biologicals that are applied to the crop seed. In our area, that typically consists of corn, soybeans, and wheat crops. And those chemicals and biologicals are added to the seed prior to planting to assist the plant in overcoming pathogen issues in the field, or in the biologicals case, to enhance plant growth.
Now, you talk about seed treatments and you talk about biologicals. What's the difference?
The difference between seed treatments are typically synthetic chemistries to protect the seed from very specific harmful pathogens. In the soil, there is a pool of microorganisms. Now, these can be good and these can be bad. The bad ones that we want to protect the seed from are funguses, insects, and nematodes. But seed treatments can also be biological as well when they want to protect the seed from those pathogens, but they do it in a biological means. Now, the seed treatments typically defend the vulnerable plant for the first 30 days. When the plant is very young, just germinating and emerging and growing out of the ground, it's very soft tissue. It doesn't have a lot of time to start to develop its own chemical and physical defenses. Now, for the 30 days, those seed treatments are going to provide that protection that the plant can't do it so much on its own. And primarily seed treatments, you want to apply those to the seed because they are going to protect the seed and the growing crop to reach its full genetic capability.
When should a producer use a seed treatment?
Seed treatments are applied to the seed when you want to provide protection to the young growing plant. Now, in the soil, there is always going to be fungal pressure. That is the most consistent pathogen. And that is because plants grow in wet conditions. Well, fungus also likes wet conditions to grow in. So, number one, the primary seed treatment that you should use is fungicides. Now, there are also other early season pathogens, insects, that you can apply as an insecticide as well. Now, you need to know your field's history of pathogens because there are diseases such as sudden death syndrome that doesn't happen every year, but you can protect your seed by knowing what your field history is. And soybean cyst nematode is a common yield robber that producers really need to be out and evaluating and scouting their field to find these issues. That way you know exactly what seed treatments will provide you a yield boost in the end. Now, producers need to know their fields and what their fertility is like. That way they know it's not an environmental situation instead of a pathogen. But producers should be really preparing this season for next season on what seed treatments they're going to apply and what benefits will come.
Then on the other hand, when should a producer use a biological?
Now, biologicals are generally used to enhance yield. So this is the use of living microorganisms or components originally derived from the plant to stimulate plant growth and development. That typically means a more expansive root system and vegetative growth early, above and beyond what the plant can typically do on its own. Now, the most common biological that has been used in the past is what we call inoculant, also known as rhizobium. Now, this forms a relationship with soybeans that helps the plant to fix its own nitrogen and not have to rely what's available in the soil. Nowadays, when biologicals are becoming more expansive in what they can offer, now you can apply fungus and bacteria that help to help release nutrients in the field that are typically bound and unavailable to the plant. You can apply fungus that will help to pull the plant through environmental stresses such as drought or heat. You can apply compounds that will draw in the beneficial microorganisms right next to the plant. That way the plant can really use them for its own benefit. You can apply proteins and hormones that enhance vegetative growth early. They really want to stimulate that vegetative growth because the more vegetative growth you get early, the more photosynthesizing the plant is going to do, which will help with seed fill in the end. And also, it's not typically a biological or categorized as a biological, but nowadays you can put nutrients directly on the seed to give it that jump start in nutrient availability.
So how should producers be able to tell what to use when?
MFA does a fabulous job of evaluating new and existing seed treatment and biologicals that are available in the industry. MFA does an extreme in-depth evaluation of seed care and biological products through replicated plot trials. We want to see how these treatments and biologicals are performing in our MFA territory and not just going with what the companies are telling us or claiming that they yield. Now, once we have our good performers in these replicated plots, we'll then move to the products into side-by-sides that are developed with the producer on more acreage. So a larger scheme of how the product is going to evaluate and do in the field for the producer.
So how does MFA evaluate the products that it's going to promote?
MFA does an in-depth test through replicated plot trials across the MFA territory. We want to really evaluate these seed treatments and biologicals on how they do in our soils, in our environment. But not only does MFA do the replicated plot trials, we then take it a step further and the next year do side-by-sides with producers on more of a large-scale acreage to evaluate the product. So from those side-by-sides and the replicated plot trials, then we have good data, good information to take to producers to show them what will work and what will be profitable in the seasons to come.
And finally, Deanna, how are seed care products applied?
Seed care products are like a prescription, especially for soybeans and for wheat. Seed care products can be applied as a prescription. Therefore, if the producer knows what the issues are in the field, strengths and weaknesses, MFA can provide suggestions on what to apply to the seed on a prescription base. And that means if they have a problem with fungus, with nematodes, and maybe want a yield enhancer or vegetative growth enhancer, we can apply that. And it's different for what each producer may want. That's why I say prescription, because you can get exactly what you want on the seed. But not only is it seed treatment products and biologicals, they also have seed treatment additives such as polymers and flow aids. This makes the seed less sticky as it is going through the planter, and therefore you get more uniform populations. And we also have dust-off preventer that are applied to the seed, and this really helps to keep the active ingredients on the seed where the producer pays for it and out of the environment. There are also options for the producer to apply them on their own and not have to go through a retailer and the retailer's nice equipment. The producer can also apply it as a planter box or even granular options.